What's going on, guys?
How you doing?
What's up?
Oh, what's up? Us barely.
Yeah.
It's pretty late.
It's a late night.
It's been a productive night, though.
Yeah. We've been productive lately. It's just been so much stuff to do. Not enough time, Not enough time. That's a good song.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
Really? Oh, well. In Excess. It's an In Excess song.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, what's going on, everybody? If you don't already know this, you are listening to Geeking Poetic Podcast. I can barely talk.
Wow, yeah.
Apparently.
That was hard getting that out.
Yeah.
You were wincing. You were literally wincing.
And nobody could see me wince, at least, because this is just the audio cast, as we like to call it. Although we will have it up on YouTube as well as the iTunes and the Spotify and all them other places. But we are talking this week about heroes, essentially, mainly superheroes, because this month we focused on the Marvel Cinematic Universe,
which is all about superheroes, apparently.
Yeah, pretty much. Not that they all have superpowers, but they are all considered superheroes, and because by the time this comes out, I think the movie will probably already be out, but in a short matter of days, we are all going to go see Avengers Endgame. I'm pretty excited about it.
Me too.
Yeah, so we thought it would be a good opportunity to finally talk in depth about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, since it's going to be Endgame, essentially is going to be the Endgame. It's going to end a chapter in the Marvel Cinematic history, and thought it would be a good opportunity to talk about it. But what we're going to talk about in this is not so much really talking about Spider-Man and Thor and Iron Man and all that stuff, but we're going to talk about just the concept, the history and theory and everything behind actual like superheroes and stuff. I mean,
We're going to get real.
Yeah.
So what we do on this audio cast is we get real.
Yep.
We're keeping it
Keeping
real.
it real.
We always keep it
Real talk, man.
Real talk. Milton. Don't make me get all R. Kelly on you. Real talk. Bitch, I wish you would burn all my motherfucking clothes. Do you know that song?
No.
Oh,
man.
Oh, you are in for a treat. Real talk. Milton. Sorry. Anyway.
Guy's a genius. You don't even know it, man.
Guy's a genius and a piece of shit at the same time. Oh, it seems to be the way it works sometimes.
Yeah.
But
Can't have it all.
yeah, I guess not. But anyway, yeah, when we do the audio cast, if this is the first time you're listening to us like this, yeah, we like to talk more about stuff in the real world and everything, like, I mean, how would you guys define a superhero? Because I mean, would you guys think of? I mean, can a superhero be a superhero if you don't have superhuman powers? Because I mean, like Batman doesn't have any powers.
No, but he has the ability, the money, the technology to be superhuman.
I guess. I mean, I don't know if I would call them superhuman.
But he has the technology, like he can, has those things where he can like clamp onto buildings and he can fly, technically.
Right.
Sort of fly.
So it's like pseudo.
Yeah.
Yeah, pseudo, I wouldn't
It's like
say.
he doesn't have superpowers, but he can do things that normal humans can't do because he has the technology and the money.
Right.
To back that.
And I mean,
just like Iron Man.
Right. But do you think, yeah, so I mean, so there's tons of heroes in the world, but
right.
I mean, a firefighter is a hero, a military guy, police, so on and so forth.
People who put others' lives before theirs, would you consider them a hero? Would probably be the definition of that.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But are they a superhero?
No.
Yeah, superhero to me means you have some I don't know if technology would play into a superhero part. I think it's more of like you have this genetic ability that someone else doesn't have that gives you almost mystical, magical powers.
But see, then that would make Batman not a superhero.
See, I consider him a detective.
Detective Comics. Yeah. That's a good point. Super detective. Yeah. Well, that's when it gets tricky whenever you put the super part on anything, you know. It's like, I don't know.
Well, Black Widow wouldn't be that either.
No, neither would Hawkeye.
Or Hawkeye.
Right.
So like half of the Avengers are not, more than half of the Avengers, because Tony Stark,
He's not a superhero.
you know.
Well, he doesn't have superpowers.
But that's what we're saying. So, I mean, you know, I think a superhero can be anybody that goes beyond what an average normal human can do, even if it's not superpowers, you know what I mean? Like something like Superman or Thor or something like that. I think as long as kind of like what Megan was saying, as long as you have abilities of some sort that reach beyond what a normal person can do. None of us could afford to make a Batcopter and a Batmobile and a Bat winch and wall climbing things, and
can't build a Bat bike, man.
Yeah.
And have a cool Bat cave.
Dude, I can't even make a Bat microwave. I can't even afford that, much less, you know. So I mean, I think that somebody that could do that qualifies as a superhero. They don't necessarily have to be born with or get bitten by some radioactive spider or whatever. But now, I mean, here's another question is, so in essence, you said a detective, but the first word that came to my mind when thinking about somebody like Batman is he's a vigilante.
Right.
That is true.
I mean, really, most superheroes are kind of, you know, they're operating outside the law and all that stuff. And so, do you guys think that that's acceptable? Like, how do you feel about vigilantism and stuff? Like, do you think that's I know that's
a loaded question right there. That is a tough one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's a yes and a no.
Yeah. It's kind of a gray area.
Yeah.
Well, you're putting a lot of trust into somebody. Because, I mean, as it is, we have to put faith and trust in our government, our military, our police, all that stuff. We have to trust that they're going to use their power for good, you know. Now imagine somebody has Tony Stark type, you know, power or Bruce Wayne type power, much less if somebody had Thor type power. I mean, how would you feel? I mean, how would you feel if suddenly you found out somebody was out there like doing that shit? Even if like everything that seemed like it was on the level and it was like, oh, they busted this cartel and they busted up this, you know, child slavery ring and all this stuff. Like, would you be like totally supportive of it, or would you be sort of like, oh, I don't know how I feel about this?
If it's that specific thing, then yes. But what's to say that somebody would do that and he just made up a story that this building had a cartel in it when it didn't? It just had something that he didn't agree with or something like that. He masked it as a conspiracy, you know, to blame another group
Jones.
of it.
I'm telling you, the pizza joint has a child pedophile ring in the back room. I'm certain of it. Fucking Alex Jones, man. You mean like that?
A little bit. But, you know, laws exist for a reason. There's a clear definition that this is right, this is wrong. You have to, you know, limit yourself to those right and wrong things. What's to say that this guy is wrong, you know, outside of the law isn't somebody else's right, you know? Just because he doesn't agree with that situation, you know, if it falls outside the law.
Well, and you get into things like due process and all that kind of stuff. I mean, superhero takes down somebody, says, well, he's a villain, you know, he's a bad guy and everything. And it's like, well,
because you said he was a bad guy?
You know,
he's innocent until proven guilty.
Right.
In our law.
And that, you know, right there, that's when you start getting into things like superheroes in the classic sense in these comic books and these movies and stuff, why, as much as we love them, and there's times we sit there and go, oh, I wish we had a Captain America. I wish we had an Iron Man and stuff. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's not clear cut.
It's tricky.
Because I know there's like groups out there that they call themselves superhero groups and stuff like that, where they go out and do stuff for the groups, do stuff for the good.
Yeah.
And the cops are all like, stop. You can't do this. You have to stop.
Yeah.
Let us take care of it. We're here for a reason. You don't need to be out there on the streets doing, taking down drug deals and stuff.
But the problem is, and this is why so many of us tend to straddle that line between saying yes or no with street justice, is too often things are not getting taken care of the way they ought to. As much as I believe in due process and all that stuff, that also works against us a lot of times, because there have been a lot of bad people that have gotten away with shit because of that same law that protected them more than the people that it should have been protecting.
Yeah, I think I could get behind it if they're like bringing the people into the law. Maybe. Right. They're not like just out there like just shooting people up.
Right.
Like, you're a bad guy, I'm just going to shoot you. It's like, whoa,
well, then you're just a fucking gangbanger or whatever.
What if it was like a wooden gun and you just shot this dude?
Right.
It was a hole in the hero sandwich and you thought he had a gun, when you pull up to him.
Exactly.
Right.
So.
Right. Well, I mean, that was always the thing. And I think they kind of tried to incorporate that when, like, I was growing up and I'd watch the cartoons, which were obviously tamer than the MCU movies are, or the comic books even were. I'd watch the old Amazing Spider-Man cartoons from 1967. That's the ones I grew up with in the 70s. And usually at the end of an episode, when Spider-Man would catch somebody, and there'd be fisticuffs, he'd end up clobbering some people a little bit, but inevitably at the end of it, the human fly twins would be wrapped up in his webbing and hanging upside down from the ceiling, and the cops would come in and they'd be there with a note, these human fly twins were caught for you by your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And then that would be the end. It was like he would turn them into the police, or he'd capture the Scorpion and tie him up and turn him into the police, and or drop him off in J. Jonah Jameson's office and say, call the police and have him come get the Scorpion. And so that you're more like an agreement if it was something maybe more like that. Maybe. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we had a superhero that worked in conjunction with the police officers. Like, okay, we're looking for this dude. Go get him. He's beyond our reach.
Listen, guys, we're real strapped this month with payroll.
Yeah.
So he just throws a bone, maybe go out there. You
Right.
know. It's like a neighborhood watch, but where people actually do something.
So it's almost, in a way, that's almost like Luke Cage.
I don't know who that is.
Wow. Fuck. Okay. Well, never mind.
I mean, I know I know the
you
name.
You never watched it.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, that's kind of how Luke Cage was. And that's the interesting thing. I mean, that's why it's, I guess, kind of hard to have like a clear-cut opinion on yes or no on this, is because there's so many different kinds of what is qualified as superheroes. There's so many different kinds and some maybe are more agreeable than others, in terms of going, well, that seems okay, but this, I don't know how I feel about that. Changing gears real quick for a second, but the whole thing with like superheroes is like, why do you think we as a race, I mean human race, why do you think we're so infatuated with the idea of superheroes? I mean, because it's something that literally has existed almost since the beginning of man.
Because we're humans and we fuck everything up, so we need somebody to save us at all times.
Yeah, that's actually pretty valid. But I mean, it's like we just have always had this thing, when you think about it, you go through all the different ancient Romans, ancient Greeks, ancient Ireland, ancient everywhere, Africa, everybody, all these different species of humans, or species, you know what I mean? I guess they're all the species, but all these different, cultures, different cultures that had no interaction with each other. Mm-hmm. The Far East, with Japan, and they have tons, and no interaction, but it was all ingrained in us to create these supposedly, I guess, fictional characters that we would look up to or idolize or tell all these stories about. It was, you know what I mean? Like, where did that come from?
Boredom.
Well,
not having the scientific knowledge to know how the Earth works or where we came from. I
suppose that makes sense. Yeah. Well, I mean, then you start getting, and then you start really treading, carefully here, because then you start getting into things about like religion and stuff like that. Because I mean, in so many respects, you can sit there and look at something like Jesus and say, well, he's kind of a superhero.
He kind of is a superhero.
Yeah. Because I mean, and it doesn't help that I think a lot of superheroes that have been written, have been modeled in a way after Jesus himself. I mean, think about Superman,
Yeah.
Sent here by his father, his only son,
found in a basket or whatever.
Yeah, kind of found by...
Well, it's a Moses story, actually, though, not
No,
Jesus.
the basket is, that's Moses. But still found, sent by the father, to a childless couple that are kind and are basically like poor farmer type and everything. They raise this kid. Then, he has this upbringing, and then he has this nebulous sort of like young adulthood and everything that you just don't know anything about. He just kind of disappears for 10 years and everything. And then he comes back, and suddenly he's this, he's Superman, and he's, thrown into society, and his whole thing is to try and like watch over us and show us the right way and everything. Ironically, Superman was written by two Jewish guys. So I'm just saying, I mean, absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's awesome, but I'm just saying it's funny that, considering. But I mean, yeah, it's just interesting when you think about, how close religions and ancient religions, especially you think about ancient Egyptian religion, which we won't talk too much about because we're going to be talking about that soon.
Hint, hint.
Yeah. But, think about like the Greeks mythology, it's all superheroes. I mean, it literally, reading Greek mythology is like reading comic books, man. Mm-hmm. Hercules. In fact, some of them even like Hercules is a character in Marvel Comics. Mm-hmm. They Thor, one of the biggest Marvel superheroes of all time, is literally a Norse mythological god. Obviously changed around a little bit to fit modern times and narrative, but yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting to me that we've all through all these different centuries and different kinds of cultures and stuff that we've had all these heroes that you keep banging into the mic.
I keep banging into everything over here. Sorry. My bad. It's a weird noise. It's me. Just ignore it.
Yeah, Megan's got a super cold, so
I'm trying to hang on here.
Yeah. But it's just interesting that it's always been such a prevalent thing. I mean, it seems like superheroes are such a recent thing, you know what I mean? Because people think about it's only been a recent thing in terms of movies and comic books and all that stuff. But I mean,
they've been around for centuries,
forever. I mean, kind of getting back a minute now to what we were talking about at the start when I was talking about like the vigilantes and all that kind of stuff. Here's a big question for you. Here's some real talk, real world talk. Do you think it's possible that there could be actual superheroes in existence Like not just, well, I mean, to start with, like, we're not even talking about like your like vigilante Bruce Wayne type, but I mean like people that have extraordinary superhuman, so to speak, powers. Do you think that that's possible?
Well, they say people with autism are the next step in evolution.
Yeah.
So they have superpowers because they're super strong, and
well, that's kind of what
their mind works differently.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, you know, there have been various supposed instances of people that have things like telekinesis, pyrokinesis, you know, being able to start fires. I mean, yeah, it's
real. There's people out there that have it.
Well,
supposedly.
I was just going to say.
Some of those guys are fucking con artists. For real.
Well, they're like 11-year-old girls and 3-year-old girls. They're not con artists.
I'm pretty sure they're con artists. Or their parents are con artists who sucker them into doing this to make them money because they're losers and can't get a fucking job. So they have their kid make up some bullshit story and go on fucking, you know, Johnny Carson or whatever.
Well, I mean, yeah. Well, like, Meg, you're talking about the Vietnamese girl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the 11-year-old girl that set things on fire just by being near them.
Yeah, especially electronics.
I
think personally, that's just static electricity and bunk-ass Vietnamese electronics. Because if you've ever bought any musical gear from Vietnam, you know that shit don't hold up, son.
Well, what about the 3-year-old girl in the Philippines?
Okay.
That can foresee fires before they even happen. She talks about them, and then all of a sudden, so it gets set on fire.
Okay, but
what about that?
I mean, is this proven? I mean, how well documented has this been?
People see it.
Yeah, see.
You know what happened? Her parents and her got into this thing where they conned people, right? And they said, listen, you tell them a fire's going to start there in 3 days from now. We're going to hire our cousins, our third cousins, that are going to go over there and they're going to start that fire. But behind the bush so nobody sees that they're going to start that fire. And and then we're going to get the news involved and we're going to.
Could have like a timer on it.
Could be. But,
right.
Let me throw this out there. But that being said, you know, isn't it weird? Have you ever noticed that so many of the weird physical maladies and abnormalities and things it's always like the people from like
third world
countries, and it's always like these weird things where like here's, you know, and they can't explain it. Like they don't have an explanation for it, where they're like, here's a guy whose head is literally like 5 times the size of a normal human being's, and he's still walking around, but he's got this giant fucking Beavis head, you know, like he's a fucking Funko Pop, like walking around. You know, his name is Lung Quan Su. Yeah. And everything. And I mean, I'm not making fun of him. I feel bad for people that deal with these things, but my point, or you see these things where it's like, here's a guy from, you know, Mongolia that was born with 4 arms, you know, and it's like 3 of them work or whatever, you know. But you start thinking about that, and it's just like, it's always there. It's never like some fucking guy from like, you know, Dearborn, Michigan or something, you know. It's like, it's just weird. I'm like, well, why is that? What's the story with that? And does it go back?
Better medicine
over here?
Yeah.
You know, sure, maybe, but it still doesn't. I mean, a lot of these things happen, you know, in the womb. I mean, these are things that happen. So it's like,
there might be like a not enough diversification with the gene pool in that area, that they might be crossbreeding or inbreeding, and then
could be
defects, you know.
Maybe. Or my point is getting back to what you were saying at the start, which is, you know, what about things like autism? I mean, the fact that there's like people that can do these amazing, you know, is it possible that some of these things are just, you know, evolution takes years and years and years, you know, we're not going to all of a sudden have X-Men mutants over the span of 10 years. It just doesn't, it's not going to work that way. It's going to be this gradual, long period thing. And that's what I'm saying, are like these things, whether it's autism or some of these other things, are they possible? Just, it's the start of this change in our, evolution, our human evolution, that those are people that, maybe 500 years from now, 1,000 years from now, that's going to be like whatever goes on.
Norm.
Is the norm, I'm just saying, you never know. And then, I mean, getting onto the other thing, when I said sort of ignoring for the moment, talking about vigilante type things or anything like that. I mean, what about the idea of government created superhero type things? Like,
they're already working on tons of technology.
They have been for 15 years or 20 years. So
at least, 15, 20 that we know of.
Right.
Yeah.
So that means it's 15, 20 years older than that.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. So you believe in that? Like a super soldier, Bucky?
When technology is involved, I am all about it.
Okay.
Being a superhero or super.
Okay, so you're on board with that then. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're not a complete superhero skeptic.
No, if it has to do with real world technology where you can enhance somebody through chemicals, radiation, whatever, or an external piece of armor like an Iron Man type of deal, which the military does have. They have like these exoskeleton like leg braces that actually
they help you leap 7 feet or something like that.
Or carry 200 pounds of ammunition on your back and not even feel
tired,
it. Right, because it has those servo motors or whatever in there that are doing the actual work for you,
Right.
So that I'm on board with for sure. But just somebody that can like wave her hands around with some red mist and like throw stuff around
Megan
the room.
had worked on us.
It's true.
If anybody watched
Megan's the exception then.
Oh, you guys noticed that?
Yeah, we were aware, but it's fine.
I would never take out the garbage, so I knew something was on. So
Exactly. I'm not big on washing dishes, so yeah. But in any case, you had mentioned, you'd put down about the whole thing. They're making like bulletproof clothes.
Yeah, full bulletproof clothing.
Jeez.
It's like carbon
chainmail.
Yeah.
Covers everything but your head. Like, why can't we cover the head? It's a pretty important part. I think we need to cover that. I don't understand.
Right. Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you had down about the synthetic blood. Now, this I had not heard about.
Yeah, so basically, it's synthetic blood, but it's full of oxygen. So they pump it in. So you're like running and everything. You're exerting yourself, but it's giving you the extra oxygen, so you're not getting tired.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. So they're working on that.
Cool.
And you can actually breathe underwater too,
That's
because the oxygen is in your blood. You don't
Get
have
into
to
the
breathe.
abyss territory over here, huh?
Yeah,
And
that's awesome.
That's freaky shit right there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, is that an abyss? Is an abyss the one where they it's supposed to be like you remember like when being in the womb and you breathe in the
because you're breathing liquid or whatever,
right?
Yeah.
And it's sort of like you have it's that when they say like it's still
your body will remember.
Your body
yeah.
will remember.
Yeah.
Shit, I haven't seen that in years,
dude. There's some really really awesome moments in that movie, dude.
Yeah. But yeah, well then it sounds like they're striving for that sort of thing. That's I wonder, I don't know.
And that was in
Super
'89, which they
soldiers.
had that technology back then. So if you can just imagine if they,
right,
refine that where we're at now. I mean, that's
Super soldiers before we know it.
yeah. Who can go down to the Mariana Trench and find the megalodon?
Exactly.
And what was this whole thing you were talking about 7-foot leaps?
In a single bound?
In a single bound and 25-mile-per-hour springs.
That's some Bionic Man shit right there.
Yeah, it is because it'll augment the human ankle and Achilles tendon to mimic a kangaroo tendon.
Give me some of them kangaroo legs, please.
Yeah, they got bionic kangaroo legs.
Well, they have those weird leaf spring
for
amputees, right,
Exactly.
to run races and stuff.
Same
Those
with
are pretty fucking cool, man.
Yeah. We need some of those.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I mean, this is what I'm saying. There's all these things. Yeah, it's like even stuff that we're aware of, like you were just talking about those things that the amputees wear, like that give them that extra spring. I mean, if you take somebody from an early enough age, so that they don't have to unlearn things. If you took them from an early enough age and you just trained them and you gave them all these things, and things that these aren't like outlandish things here. These are things that we can easily imagine, whether what you're talking about. I mean, synthetic blood and stuff, I don't know, but things like bulletproof skin kind of stuff you could put on, like a tight suit that's actually bulletproof. You take that, you take all these other things, you train them and all this other kind of stuff. You make them, I mean, that's getting pretty goddamn close to being a fucking superhero, man.
For our definition, it is.
Right. So it seems to me like it's pretty plausible,
For us to have a super soldier, absolutely. For the technology part of it.
Well, technology can pretty much do anything, If you
Right.
put the resource into it, you'll get out what you want to get out of it,
Yeah. Well, we're going to need to have human super soldiers to do that because we're going to need somebody that's going to be on our side to fight against all the robots. Right, Vito? Vito is very closely monitoring. You and Paul are always...
Those Boston Dynamic robots, man. That's some
they
freaky
worry
shit.
you. Every now and then I see like Paul will be sharing a Vito and be like, dude, check this out. And it's like the latest update of... Now that Boston robotic dog can actually open the door on its own and it doesn't fall over. It's like,
yeah, that's a freaky
right?
guy.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Well, they just keep every now and then they put out a new video. Like, see, we've moved a little bit further, and you get guys like Vito and Paul and Joe Rogan and shit that are like, oh man, I don't like this. I don't like where this is going. But seriously, that's when you're gonna need like the super soldier type guys. That because who else is going to fight it? A normal person ain't going to be able to
take that
down. And what are you going to do? Build more robots to fight those robots? You can't trust that because then those robots can turn against you, and then and you've got Ultron. Seriously, because that's what Ultron was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a mess.
Yeah, you never bring a robot to a robot fight, man, because it'll bite you in the ass.
I mean, and then there's I don't know.
They have so much technology they're working on.
There's
insane.
I'm just like looking at a list right now, of things that so first, where did you find out? Because I never heard of who the hell is Dr. Polgar?
Oh, the telekinesis dude?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's supposedly is a victim of a grenade explosion.
Okay.
When he regained consciousness, he discovered he could read minds.
Okay.
And they tested him. They did a fake murder test and everything. He figured it out. And he could tell everybody when they were coming in to see him exactly what they were thinking.
You know who else could do that?
Who's that?
Sylvia Brown. And you know what Sylvia Brown was? A fucking con artist.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
You're just not going to buy into these. Okay, what about, was it Uri Geller?
The biggest con artist of them all, Megan? That Uri Geller?
Could bend metal objects with his mind. Come on.
Oh, sure he could.
He could stop watches or make them go faster. He could make them stop. They go faster,
all
go backwards.
Parlor tricks.
You're such a skeptic.
No, Yuri Geller was on Johnny Carson.
Okay.
And he was there, and he was supposed to, I forgot exactly what it was, but he was supposed to show up and bend spoons. But what happened was Johnny Carson switched the spoons out because Yuri had brought his own spoons. So during the break, before Yuri came out, Johnny Carson and his crew changed all the spoons, and Yuri was out there. He's like,
that smart son of a bitch.
You know what? I'm just not feeling it tonight. I don't think I can do this tonight. I'll have to come back later. Because those weren't his spoons. That were a thinner metal that are very pliable. So if you do this with the spoon and make it look like you're concentrating, you can actually bend it because you are bending it because the metal is so pliable. You can buy, they have these spoons at like magic stores and stuff like that. That was his main gig. Yeah.
So you don't believe there's anybody out there that can actually bend a spoon?
Yeah, I can bend a spoon in front of you if I
Well,
want.
I mean, with your mind.
Right? No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
There's some other trickery going on, like David Blaine.
Right.
Like you've seen him do some. Like, how the fuck did you do that?
Right.
But we all obviously know that it's magic, it's illusion, right? We don't know how he does it, but it's some kind of illusion trick. That's all.
Oh, it's magic. You know. See, Vito knew that one.
I know that one.
We all know that one.
Nice.
Don't know who sings it, but I know that track.
It's a band called Pilot. Came out in 1975.
Wow. Was that one-hit wonder or something?
Yeah.
What?
They were a one-hit wonder. Yeah. It's great, though. Me and Willie G love that song. Yeah, it's a good song. It's kind of pseudo pre-yacht. Pre-yacht rock.
I can see that.
Yeah. But anyway, so, I mean, you know, we could go around and around. We're going to try. We should keep this one a little bit shorter tonight and everything. But, I mean, kind of going back to where I started this. I mean, my question to you is this. Do you think that we should actually have superheroes? Like, do you really, I mean, whether any way you slice it, whether it's a natural evolutionary thing like we were talking about, whether it's a super soldier type thing, whether it's a Tony Stark, Bruce Wayne, rich vigilante thing, any of that, do you think that just straight up, like, if you can do a definitive answer and why, do you think we should have superheroes? Yes or no?
I'm going to go with yes.
Really? Okay.
And I was just sitting here thinking about it because we already have a military. We're putting our full trust in them. They're above us. If they want to come in and take us out, there's not shit we can do about it. So what's the difference if they're super soldiers or superheroes? At least then if something super terrible comes at us, like an hostile alien or whatever it may be, at least then we might be more equipped to handle it.
Yeah, I hadn't even taken into account the whole thought about like
an outside enemy.
Force, kind of like
Space Force, dude.
He's all serious.
No?
I think, hey man, you know, we're not even talking about our commander in chief. All that aside, I think the idea of a Space Force is a great idea, depending on what they're going to do with it.
Right. If it's not aimed at humans, but if we find out that there is life outside the universe, then we should definitely be prepared for that. Right. You know, I'm not talking about microbial life on Mars. So I'm talking about an actual civilization.
Actual threat.
Yeah, that has the capability to come here, whether friend or foe.
Right.
We still need to be prepared for something like that.
Well, and I mean, here's the other thing. So I know I talked about this a little bit, I think, when we did our top 5 MCU thing. But here's the other thing. It's like, much like what would happen if aliens visited. I mean, what do you think the reaction of the public at large would be if we suddenly found out we had superheroes? Like, you know, in the movies, they make it seem so kind of la-di-da. Like, oh yeah, we got Spider-Man now. He's great. You know, we see him playing around this and that. And Thor, he's awesome. I'm selling Thor shirts at my store here in New York. And it's like, I don't think people would be so, I mean, just the whole, like, religious connotation to it and how it would change things. Like,
I picture Independence Day. there's going to be people like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. And the other side's going to be complete, utter chaos.
Right.
Yeah.
And well, there's a third side to it that's going to be everybody pushing to shut it down.
Right. I think it would send everything into complete chaos. I think the idea of, well, because here's the other problem too. I think somebody, even let's just say, we're not even going to get into supernatural type thing. Let's just say a Batman type person. I think somebody with totally good intentions could become a superhero like that. Like I would, if I had Bill Gates kind of money type thing, like, could I see myself under the right circumstances wanting to be like a Batman type superhero type thing, you know, risk my neck, even if it got me killed? Yeah, I probably would. Because I mean, in as much as I always wanted to be a musician, really what I wanted to be was a superhero.
Sorry.
Well, I mean, seriously, think about it. I mean, I wanted to think about who my biggest heroes are.
Kiss,
Alice Cooper. It was always like those kind of, you know, when I was a kid and I saw Kiss Meets the Phantom, I was 5, barely 5.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Kiss Meets the Phantom, and in that they had superpowers and stuff. And to me, now I knew Kiss were real people. Like I knew they were actual people and they were a band and everything. But then I watched this stupid movie that to a 5-year-old didn't seem that stupid. I watched this stupid movie and I was just like, oh yeah, okay. They can do that too.
Mm-hmm.
Like Gene Simmons
got it all.
Gene Simmons isn't spitting kerosene out of his mouth to a torch. He's really blowing. He can breathe fire. Paul Stanley can read minds. You know, Ace can shoot laser bolts. All this stuff. Like I was like, oh yeah. Oh, okay. That. Oh, I want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that really, you can laugh at me all you want.
No, because it sounded like you were making that as like a career choice or something like that, like a full-time paid superhero. That's why it was.
No. I wanted to be. That's what I wanted to be. I was like, oh, okay, I want to do that. I want to play rock and roll music, and I want to be able to, like, you know, beat up bad guys and dress up like all crazy and like, you know, and
right.
do, like, to me, I was like, I thought that was like legit, you know, and so, I mean, if I had the opportunity to do something like that, you know, and people would say, well, then why didn't you join the military? Why didn't you join the police or whatever? Like, there was a part of me that had designs on wanting to do those sorts of things too, but there's other parts of me that unfortunately it wouldn't work, and I can't get into all that here.
Right.
But people that know me personally be like, oh yeah, that would never work. So doing it on my own terms like that, doing it more superhero-y, vigilante style. Yeah, I could totally say. And my intentions, I would hope, at least I think so, but would be like totally good, totally for good. But the problem is, what kind of craziness is that going to attract? Because with superheroes, there's going to be supervillains.
Right.
And even if it's a supervillain, I mean, think about, they did address that. Think about somebody like the Joker. You know, he's not super powered in any way, shape, or form. He doesn't even have super weapons or anything like that. He's just batshit fucking crazy and brilliant at the same time, which is a bad combination.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So, you know, he's basically, the Joker's a terrorist, is really what he is. He's a terrorist, you know? So that's where I would have the problem with the idea of superheroes existing, is I don't like the idea of what it would bring out in society in terms of it would, you know, there's so many people. Think about all the crazy shit people do now to get famous, to get infamous, to get, you know, serial killers. You know what I mean? Think about anybody that was like walking the fucking fence on doing something like that. They're crazy. Maybe they have the impulse. They want to do that. Now suddenly here's some guy that's like some Batman kind of guy and everything. And his thing is he's taking it down. And he's obviously he would be the biggest thing in the world, you know, since sliced bread. And then you'd get every crazy that's like, I'm going to go start some shit, so he'll come after me and do it. Like it would just cause absolute bedlam. And unfortunately, as much as I love superheroes and would want them to exist in theory,
probably not a good idea.
No.
Yeah.
The super soldier thing, like you're saying, if it was under a controlled thing by the government, I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying. Not that I'm super crazy about governments being able to do.
No.
But they already kind of can.
Exactly.
So, I mean,
that's my point. I was like, well, they could already take us out if they really wanted to.
Right.
We're screwed anyway. So what's the fucking difference?
Okay. So I'm kind of like, I'm leaning towards the no. Megan's sort of leaning towards the veto.
You're a tiebreaker.
I'm probably leaning towards the no, just because they would be operating outside the law. So just as a hypothetical situation, let's say some shit went down in your neighborhood and these guys showed up and were blowing shit up and your property got destroyed. Like, what would you be able to do to these guys?
Right.
You don't know who they are. They're outside the law, so it's not like you can sue the Chicago Police Department and get some kind of reparations back. This guy, they don't even know who he is. He's just,
And that's what they got. That was what the whole point of Civil War was and stuff, and the Accords and everything was accountability and being able to keep tabs on them and being able to hold these superheroes or villains accountable,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bummer when you watch the movie and you're like, fuck you, General Ross, leave Scarlet Witch and Captain America alone. But when you think about the reality of it.
Yeah, they cause so much destruction.
Yeah. And they get off pretty much scot-free.
Exactly.
Right.
But now as far as the military, if they had a super soldier program, I think I would be on board with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we're on board super soldier, superhero, no.
When it comes to vigilantism.
Superpower, vigilante.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm really going to throw a monkey wrench in it for you.
Oh, no.
And one last thing.
not
not Foo Fighters monkey wrench.
I've been listening to that song a lot, actually.
Foo Fighters are awesome, man. So good. But anyway, and I know most people they'd think more vigilante than superhero, but in a manner of speaking, it's like, because you're saying like, oh, stuff happened. What about Steven Seagal and Chuck Norris and them, man? Because those guys, like in their movies and stuff, they go rogue, and they've got somewhat above average abilities, and they're vigilantes essentially. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, you can say that about the famous Paul Kersey character portrayed by the late and great Charles Bronson in the Death Wish movies.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But in his case, being a vigilante destroyed his soul. And
Right.
he didn't want to, he's like, this is bullshit. You can't be doing this. So, yeah, I don't know, man, because Steven Seagal's a motherfucking badass, and I love him.
But that's what I'm saying. I mean, when you think about it, it's a fine line there. People wouldn't necessarily think of Steven Seagal in some of those movies as being a superhero, but I don't know. Is he any less of a superhero than Black Widow? You know what I mean? Because skills are kind of similar and their motivations are similar in a lot of, it's like
I'm just
some
trying to
shady
think,
background.
Because Steven Seagal only goes after people who have personally wronged his family or his close friends, which I guess does fall into vigilantism, right?
It doesn't make it right. You still can't just go murder people because they hurt you.
Yeah, find out what happened to Bobby Lupo.
But those movies are so good, man.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
so.
fuck, man.
But they're, I guess that's a point. They're all great in movies. All this stuff is great. It's great reading the stories about Hercules and Odysseus and Cuchulainn and all these, legend, going all back to the legends and stuff. But I just don't know that the reality of them existing in our world I don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer. Hate to end this on like kind of a bummer note.
We're all sad now.
Yeah. But I mean,
I'm going to go to bed and cry myself to sleep.
But I mean, we put this out there for anybody who's listening. Definitely message us, leave comments, whatever.
Please.
What do you guys think? You guys and gals, sorry, say guys. What do you what do you fine folks think out there? All our geeking pals. What do you think? I mean, do you think that are we being a little bit too negative? Do you think that having superheroes in our world, whether they were manufactured superheroes or born that way, mutant type superheroes, do you think they would actually be a good thing for humanity? Or do you agree with us and think that we probably are better off without it?
Let us know.
Yeah. I am very curious. I was surprised. I'm kind of surprised. I wasn't expecting Vito to be the skeptic.
Right?
Because we didn't talk about this beforehand.
No.
Like who was gonna? I expected Megan to be more skeptical of the whole thing, and Vito to be more enthusiastic about the whole idea. And you're just like, kind of like, nah, not cool. Not about breaking the law, not about nobody should be above the law. This and that. I don't care. It's like, damn.
Vito's always surprising.
Vito's on the side of the righteous.
No Batman for Vito.
Yeah, although I do love Batman, but
Yeah.
when you put it that way, it's like it does do more harm than you would think it would do more good, Even though the outcome is theoretically good because you're taking out a bad guy, but there's a line there where you can cross over into a super gray area that might not be good at all. So.
Yeah, like I said, it just scares me the thought of all the crazies that it would encourage to come out to get their 15 minutes of fame and all that stuff. And we have enough problems with that as it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I am very curious about this super soldier thing.
Yep.
We'll see where that
It
goes.
was very interesting to read all that.
Yeah, we barely touched,
We barely touched on any of those.
Yeah.
There's so much technology.
climbing gloves and exoskeleton, powered underwear.
Powered underwear. So they don't get tired.
I don't know if I want anything powered
Around that area.
around that sensitive
Well,
area.
it's more like long underwear, like
It's
full.
It's still hugging the Johnson, That would worry
Well,
me.
so would be. Well, I guess it's not powered, but the bulletproof.
No, I want a bulletproof.
You want that on your Johnson. You don't want the,
As long as that's never mind. Never mind.
If the Franks and Beans are behind a bulletproof shield, we're all good. But you put it by some skin tight underwear that's like got like some sort of like powered electricity. That's just begging for a calamity. And then you're gonna be singing fucking, pretty young thing Michael Jackson and stuff, Woo! It's like, why are you singing like that? My powered underwear. Powered underwear, do it to you.
My lord.
Yeah.
We couldn't make it through it.
Yeah, no. Well, But anyway, all right. Well, that was fun.
Yep.
For us, I would say it's short. It's still almost like an hour, but
It's short for us. We did good.
yeah.
I'm proud of us.
But yeah, that's fun. We will be back pretty soon.
Very soon.
Yeah, we're gonna be if you haven't seen already, we're gonna have our aforementioned top 5 video and audio ranking our favorite Marvel movies, and there's also the trivia torture where we do talk about. I challenge these two to Marvel trivia. And
It does not go well.
no, they did. You guys did pretty good actually overall. Just not as well as you would have liked because you had to eat a bunch of awful Vegemite when you got things
right.
wrong.
Oh my god.
so disgusting.
That terrible.
Really, really was, and it's really funny, folks. So you should you should definitely check that out. We'll have little links and stuff for you there, and we're gonna be back doing another one of these, just our little audio cast thing, talking about. Well, I guess we could say because we kind of hinted at it too.
Go for it.
For May, they have Mother's Day, Mummy's Day.
Mummy's Day. We're so clever.
So clever.
So British.
Yeah. Mummy. Are you my mummy?
I'm my mommy. Yeah, exactly.
Are you my mummy? But yeah, so we're going to do a retrospective about about mummy movies. And then we are going to do an audio cast where we talk, when we get real talk. We're going to talk about Egyptology and actual
They're mummies.
and different, legends and stories and theories and stuff about that. That's going to be fun.
That's going to be a good one. Yeah. I can't wait for that one.
I'm looking forward to that. So, All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And we will be back soon. So don't change that dial. Stay tuned. There is nothing wrong with your computer screen. We took control, but now we got to go home and go to bed.
Yes.
Because it's late.
Yes.
So take it easy, everybody.
Bye.
See ya.